Bethany Manctalo here. Welcome to our Millwall fan show with some new voices, but the same focus. Just everything Millwall. Enjoy!
Well, welcome to the 2023-24 series of Millwall No One Likes Us Talkings, our Millwall fan show. I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of Dave Hart, Stan Godwin, and, believe it or not, Jeff Burnige.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Welcome team and listeners. Well, we hosted playoff hopefuls West Bromwich Albion on a Good Friday, and the ground was rocking yet again.
Yes, it was a long Good Friday, a very good day. As you said, a full house that was really rocking and really up for a good game. Saw Millwall actually dominate a game for a change and keep the promotion chase in West Brom at arm's length for over an hour. But they took an early lead, Millwall, through Watmore, which was a well-taken goal.
What more could you ask for, I say?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, the game was pretty much managed for, up till the soft penalty. But that gave them a chance to get back in the game, which they gratefully took. And the game just sort of petered out. We had chances, bad performance by the officials in my view, but overall a good game to watch.
Yeah, people were saying close to me, that was a slip, that wasn't a penalty. And I said, well, he's given it though. Anyway, thanks for that, Dave. That's really wonderful. I'm going to speak to our Jeff now. What did you make of our game plan, Jeff?
Well, I thought it was our best performance since Neil Harris came back. The game plan, obviously, was to use the high press. We pressed them all the way through that first hour in particular. It meant that West Brom could not play the way they chose to play. It led to the mistake, I think, for the goal that we scored. I thought it was really excellent first half, but we are struggling to score more than one goal at home. If we had done, that game would have been won. The game plan was excellent. However, once they got their equaliser, I was worried that we might run out of steam because it is a very, very high intensity way of playing. Nevertheless, it was a game we should have won, deserved to win, and it would have been lovely to look at the table today with 2 points more than we've currently got.
Yeah, that would have been the case. I'm bewildered a little bit because I keep reading on a number of the social media platforms that realistically, they want Harris out again. I just can't grasp it. Anyway, Stan, who were the standout Millwall players for you?
Watmore. I thought he was good.
Yeah.
And I think they all played well, but the last couple of games we've had some right rubbish match officials down there. And this bloke yesterday just about took the biscuit for it for me.
Well, there you go.
Whether it was a penalty or not, I don't know, because I'm down the other end. All I do know is it didn't look all that. The tackle didn't look all that gruesome, but the bloke pointed to the spot straight away. He didn't have to think about it.
He did.
And but no, I thought we played okay yesterday. I wouldn't, and I agree about. And if we win on Monday against Rotherham,
yeah,
then I think somebody said that Rotherham are then relegated. The only thing I find disappointing since Harris has been back is Denore's not figuring in that team. No,
until he come on as a substitute.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but yeah. Normally he would have started, wouldn't he, before?
Yeah.
And he ain't been, and I just find that strange. He's one of the best players we got, and he ain't even in the starting 11.
Well, that man, Georgie Saville, was the man of the match, and that's the man that Denore replaced. Well, thanks, guys. My own personal thoughts was it was a good game, hard in the end. That's something to learn from. So, there you go. We'll take a break there and hear about our sponsor, G&M Motors.
Hi, this is Jess Tuffield from G&M Motors. Operating from a modern and purpose-built facility in Milton Road, Gravesend, G&M Motors offers a complete range of new Honda cars and services. As well as new Hondas, we have an extensive range of used cars, including ex-Motability cars from a variety of manufacturers. Specialising in new Honda cars, G&M Motors has been retailing quality new and used vehicles to the people of Kent and South East London for over 4 decades. We have been a Honda dealership since 1972 and are the country's longest serving supplier of this renowned mark. Conveniently sited just 2 miles from the A2, 10 miles from the M25 and Dartford Crossing, visitors to our showroom are assured a warm welcome from our experienced and friendly staff. Our facilities include an on-site workshop capable of providing full vehicle servicing and repairs, as well as an extensive parts department offering genuine Honda parts and accessories. The expertise of our skilled mechanics is not limited to just Hondas, but extends to most makes and models of motor vehicles. Whatever your motoring needs, visit us at G&M Motors today. The newly extended hours of our G&M headquarters means that you can contact us from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. on weekdays and 9 a.m. till 6 p.m. on Saturdays. To contact us, call us today on 01474 365 026.
Thank you, Jess. Debbie Julian's here. Don't forget to call Jess on 01474 365 026. G&M Motors have been dear friends of the Julians family for over 4 decades now. From my dad Lenny to me, Debbie. Lions together.
I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Dave Hart, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. Many thanks to our sponsor G&M Motors. Why not go along, check the Hondas out and much more. Our first guest this evening is a former Lion from the 71-72 season, or at least he arrived in 71. Who was celebrated this Doggers Day. He started his senior playing career at Addington. No, that's not the one that's at the bottom of Croydon there. It's a township in Durban, South Africa, and the country of his birth. He moved to Durban City before migrating to London to join Chelsea. We won't mind that, where he became the first foreign player to win a European Championship as Chelsea lifted the 70-71 European Cup Winners' Cup. In 1971, he joined Millwall. He featured on 79 occasions, scoring 13 goals for the Lions. When we dropped into the third tier, however, in the 74-75 season, when he and a good few others actually left the Lions. Well, next stop was across the pond to Tampa Bay Rowdies, and his American soccer dream continued with San Diego Sockers, Seattle Sounders, Memphis Americans, Carolina Lightning before his final return to Tampa Bay Rowdies, where he hung up his soccer shoes, as they call them out there, in 1987, some 21 years after his senior career began. Let's welcome to the studio a man who joins us from Tampa Bay today, and where the fannies of the Rowdies named him the Stalk and the Fannies, Derek Smethurst. Welcome, Derek.
Hello.
Somewhat sombre. The others are obviously not going to speak to you tonight, so I'm going to go.
No. Go on. I'm waiting to hear Dave.
I want to hear a more upbeat welcome than that.
I thought he was going to go again.
Yeah.
Hello, gentlemen.
That'll do. That was nice. The others might even say hello to you this time, Derek.
Good evening, Derek.
All right, Derek.
Good evening. It's all right, yes.
There you are. You had a convulsion of panellists there. That was wonderful, wasn't it?
Excellent.
I can get that feeling. Anyway, lovely to have you here. Derek, I'm going to take you back before you arrived at the Den. You were a top-flight Chelsea player and you joined the Lions for 35k. Peanuts, I said. First division. Oh, no, that's what they used to say at the Cold Blow Lane. How did the move come about? And was it really 35k? I can't believe it.
That's for public consumption, that stuff.
Right.
And yes, that was the second answer. But What happened was we'd just finished the second semi-final. I'd got the one that actually took us to Greece to play Real Madrid.
You did?
In the European Cup Winners' Cup. And myself and John Phillips were standing in for Peter Benetti and Peter Osgood. And that was a tall order to begin with, but we had both played exceptionally well on both those semis. Keith Weller had hit a ball from the right wing, indirect free kick. It was going about 60 miles an hour, upper 90 near post, and the goalie touched it. He went to save it. Hello, it'll be a free kick for you if you'd have left it. But he didn't. He was a young boy and he made a mistake. So that was our semi-final debut in the European. I'd played a couple of other games, but after that, 1 week, a week before the final, Dave Sexton had come to both John and myself, pulled us apart, and told us we were not going to get a full bonus. And I said, could you explain yourself? But John didn't say a word in the 10 minutes we spoke with Dave. And he said, well, the board wants to, just pay you a half. And that was all Dave said from that point on. I think for 7 minutes I railed him up and down, South African style. And, you don't argue with a big, great white shark. You just let him have it and get out of there.
Yeah.
So that was me. And I looked over at John Phillips and I said, are you going to say, and I stopped halfway through it, say anything? And he was ashen white. He had seen his career disappear in seconds because of me having a go at Dave Sexton. And in those days, it was yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir.
Yeah.
They could own you for life and leave you in the reserve team.
Yeah.
But what happened was, at the end of this, when I'd finished, I said, this conversation's over, and I walked away. And John just ran after me. He didn't want to take a licking from Dave. So, and what happened in the next year, I started 2 or 3 games, and I was playing extremely well. My best football, actually. And after losing to Arsenal 3-0 at Arsenal at Highbury, and they won the double that year.
Yeah.
They had a brilliant team. I went into the office for Dave. I said, I need to talk to you. This is going to be short and sweet. I said, I need to leave this club unless you've got the money for me, which he didn't. And I said, and by the way, talk to Benny Fenton, because Keithy Weller had come up to me several times. He said, Del, the boss wants you, meaning Benny. He said he wants you there and he wants you very bad for a position. And lo and behold, I didn't know I was going to replace Keith Weller because I'm an inside forward. That's where I get all my goals from, like men like Derek Posse moving around and things like that, and older crossing balls. But what it was is I'm going, okay, forget that. I'm talking about money here. He said he'll pay what it takes. And what happened was, I think it was 40 grand, 35 in the press, and extra monies, much, much better contract that I had at Chelsea. Would have taken me 6 to 8 years to get what we had agreed upon, Benny and myself. So it worked out very well, both ways. I was just a little ticked off at the extra 30-yard run going forward and the extra 30 yards coming back. So the money thing worked out for me better than I could ever get it at Chelsea anyway. So
it's just amazing that Millwall could overrun what Chelsea were willing to pay you. I'm flabbergasted, and I suspect Jeff is as well. But
it's a need. I think it was a need, a need to have that replacement, because Keith Weller is a brilliant player. He was a brilliant player.
He was, yeah.
And to fill a gap there, well, you had to have somebody that comes from a place that's been to a place, a European Championship. So, and the time was ripe, and I said, this is it. I'm out of here. Yeah. And lo and behold, they were saving money to build a stadium, which I didn't know at the time. So
that was the story. Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Derek. I've always wondered what the greater detail of that was.
The other issue, Eamonn, was I told him quite clearly, Dave Sexton, I said, I'm not leaving London because Nottingham Forest were interested. I said, the answer I gave the gentleman was, where's Nottingham? And that was the end of the conversation. Brian Clough had no humour whatsoever.
No.
Anyway, it worked out great. Yeah.
It's good. Thanks.
Hi, Derek. Dave here.
Hello, Dave.
After getting used to the Old Kent Road and saying goodbye to the King's Road, you look pretty settled to me after you joined us in September of that 71-72 season. What was the then manager Benny Fenton's expectations of the squad? And what was his message to you?
When I went from the West End to the East End, it was shock and awe, okay? It was total shock and awe. I mean, the buildings, everything like that. But I got used to that, and I just fell in love with Coldblow Lane, that's what happens. And Benny had come up to me, after the signing, and he said, you play like a fellow that just won the World Cup, Martin Peters. You come in, you disappear, you're in the hole. But that's when I played inside forward. And then he put me where Keith used to play. I'm going, listen, Keithy Weller's a different kettle of fish. He's like Dougie Alder. He could go all day up and down, And I couldn't. I told him I don't fit into this. And he said, I need your crosses. I need your passing. I said, okay, let's get going. And I wanted to play. Every footballer wants to play, regardless of what takes place on the sidelines. And it was very funny because every match that I was playing in, outside of an injury or 2 or 3 or whatever, he would come up to me and he said, what do you think, Del? What do you think? I said, you've got another 15 guys in here. 4 of them are not going to be, on the field. Why don't you go ask them? And I'd say the same thing every time. And he started laughing. He said, no, serious, what do you think? And then I'd give him my 6 pennies worth, And that's the relationship we had, actually. So the only thing that really ticked me off was that outside right, thing. Because I'm not a long-distance runner. I'm an explosive 5-10 yards, like Derek Posse. Gone, explosion. Where I stayed, and that's where I played, and I hit some crosses and all of that stuff. So getting into the goal mouth was a big chore, for me. I remember a fan after a game, he says, how come you're always white, sparkling white, and there's no mud on you? I said, that's because they can't catch me. He laughed his head off, and we both parted company. But that's basically the truth. I'm a slider. I slide inside and outside, and boom, of players, that is,
Fantastic.
Well, it's Jeff here. I must say, it's lovely to hear you talk about Keith, because many Millwall fans of a certain generation would nominate Keith as the best player they've seen in a Millwall shirt.
Sure, yeah, Jeff, yeah. He gets my vote.
I think I'd be one of them. I do. I've got a number of heroes. I've been going a long time, but I think Keith's, he stands out for me, and a terribly sad loss. And so young, living in America. I think he was living in Seattle when he passed, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. His family was there, and I went to Seattle, and I couldn't track him down, but he had passed. So it was tough when he passed. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's 3 years since you were last with us, if I'm not mistaken. And since then, the march of time, and we do continue to lose players from that era. Harry Cripps, who died in 95, Kitch himself, the great Kitch, 2012, and more recently a young lad called Brian Brown. Do you remember Brian Brown?
Yeah. Listen, Brownie always laughed at my jokes, so we got on great. He's the only player, Jeff, that I ever had lunch with pre-game stuff, right, who could eat a double hamburger and a plate full of chips. And go out and run up and down the field all day. And I asked him, how do you do this stuff? I've got to have a fish without the chips, or if it's a steak I'm having, it's got to be 3 hours before, And he just kept laughing and laughing. But, he was a good player. He's a hustler. He nags at you all game long, Oof.
Well, what about Kitch? What can you tell us about Kitch as a player at that stage?
Well, I scored a third of my goals, 151 or something, goals in the air, heading the ball. So the timing of heading is a different ball game completely. And he had this thing, but he had an extra bit added to that perfect heading stuff because nobody wanted to mix it up with him. Nobody. Not me as his teammate, not somebody else, because he's not taking any prisoners when he goes up. What he did was he hit people, legally hit him. He's a big boy, you know, for very quick, very powerful. And they didn't want to come back. It was great for Alan Dorney and Dennis Burnett because they just covered around him, you know, simple, yeah. He's a magnificent player and a gentleman. He's just a wonderful gentleman.
You mentioned some good players there, but one thing you did say, which people will overlook, you mentioned the word quick in connection with Kitch because he was a big fella, very strong, great in the air. People overlook the turn of pace that he had. And
pace, he
really was a top player, very fondly remembered. And, of course, he's the man that's got the main stand at the Den named after him.
Yeah, and so it should be, absolutely good, yes.
But he didn't tell you that Harry Cripps has got the bar named after him, did he? Right?
Yeah, Harry, listen, every time something messed up with me or something on the field, he'd come on, Del, come on, man. Don't let me down, come on. And I'd look at him and say, is this personal or what? And he was laughing his head off when he said it every time, like a boy in a schoolyard.
Yeah.
Taking his shoes off and playing football. That's what he reminded me of. And he couldn't stop playing kind of thing. Yeah.
Great memories.
Derek, stand here, mate. I remember your first goal of the 71-72 season was at Cardiff in the October, where we had been trailing to a single goal, but later on both you and Barry Bridges scored to bring the points home. Can you remember anything of that game, and what was it like playing alongside Barry Bridges?
Well, I can't remember the goals, which is really strange. Goal scorers remember goals. If you can tell me where it came from, header, strike, bender, nobody home, just tap it in.
No, I can't.
I can't remember. But Barry Bridges now, I mean, this guy could turn on a dime and you wouldn't know he's gone. That's the speed he had on the turn. And he was an aggravated player. He aggravated you. Yeah, if you're a defender, he's going to aggravate you. He's going to run to you and he's going to bounce off you. He's going to run away from you and come into you. He was never shy of physical effort, like hitting defenders and midfielders. But his touch and speed, with him and Derek Posse, they both had the same type. Derek was a straight line player with maximum speed. In other words, he doesn't necessarily do the turn all the time, but Barry does. Barry sucks you in and then he turns and then he's gone. And by that time on the mud, you're finished. But Derek is a straight line player. He's coming at you and he's going past you. He's going to knock it past you and he's going to run. It's hard to turn quickly in mud. It's so hard. But the players that have that skill, they bring you in, their knees start to bend, just a short bend, very short bend in the knee, and bam, they're gone. That's both Derek and Barry. Barry had that same skill, and he's very fast, so I just love playing with him. Yeah, I love playing with him because he makes space. Him and Derek Posse make space for you.
Well, no wonder you couldn't get into goal-scoring positions if both Barry Bridges and Derek Posse were playing.
It was tough.
You mentioned the word mud. Today's fans, they don't know what you mean, playing in the mud and getting a quick turn in the mud. They don't know what it's like. But yes, you certainly conjure up a memory for me there. We had a certain style of play and we caught people on the break over and over and over again with those two.
Brilliant.
What I remember is that mud was cold and freezing. On days when it was freezing, you better keep your eye on the ball when you strike it because it bubbles up, and you can look like the biggest clown in town. But it happens to a lot of players back then. But today the fields are like, oh my goodness. I played on fields like that in South Africa. So when I got to Tampa, I was home.
Yeah.
But that mud, it gets freezing, you know what I mean? You go and have a shower, and where's this blood coming from, No,
I was going to say, you mentioned Kitch, Derek, and there was a programme, The Big Match Revisited, which they repeat, and he was in one of them games when we played Palace in 1979, it was. coming to this tackle from behind, which at that time was a perfectly legal tackle. The player jumped out the way, the referee was standing there, and he just, and everything just carried on. Where if he made that tackle today, he'd be lucky if he didn't get sent off. And that's what do you think about when you see football now, and you must see some of these free kicks that are given? Well, I mean, what's your take on all that?
Excuse me. Well, okay, on the free kicks, you can't take a free kick until the referee tells you can. Now, you've been punished by a bad tackle. Now you get punished again by not being able to hit this game is falling apart. And then you've got a minute or two for this, what I call artificial idiots, the AI. And they take all day. They must be having something in the tea to get a decision that I can see watching this thing in three seconds.
Yeah.
So it's going backwards. And I think we're training a lot of men how to be brilliant guys, fixing the field, make sure it's flat, because they're always on the field, on the ground. They're always diving, they're tripping, they're trying to insult the game through the players and making these fake things. You know what I mean? We call it diving.
Yeah.
So to do that is totally ungentlemanly. It's just not. You're trying to get him a red card. Why don't you just play football? You've got enough skill, enough money. But the game is going to die if they don't straighten this stuff out. It's painful. Everybody knows it.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's taking us back to your time with us back then. With Barry Bridges were playing in that mud. We've all seen it. He could do just what you said. He could just spin and he's away. He's gone. But there was three players that season. There was Bridges. I think he got 12 goals. Gordon Bolland, he had 15, and of course Posse had 17. But Gordon and Posse were just great goal scorers. What do you think actually was their actual way they got those goals?
The goal, look, they both are clean, what I call clean strikers of a ball. There's no wild backswing with them. Anybody watches a baseball hitter, the guys that swing back and forward, they don't hit too many. It's the guys that stroke it like a jab in boxing. You got a very, very short backswing or none at all, and you can't tackle that. So you're going to have to get him some other way, because they always miss these guys in the tackle, anticipating a wild backswing. Well, just think it through. Wild backswing, wild forward. And these guys had techniques where it was a short, explosive Muhammad Ali. Bam. Everything's locked up with power. And majority of footballers don't understand that. The less swing you got, the more power you got. It's just like a Marciano left hook coming from underneath. He doesn't go backwards first. Those guys don't do that. And great soccer players, football players, they've got that technique where all they need is a few inches back and bam, locked up ankle, locked up knee, perfect foot position, and no follow through so you don't get tagged. They both had it. Bridjo had it too. Barry had it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been training kids by the thousands here for 45 years. And the first thing I got to was technique. And 600 of them went into college soccer, playing, lots of money back for their mums and dads, but they learnt it. And they had that kind of skill, short explosion. And you know what? The defenders in those days never thought they could do it twice. That was even worse for them, the defenders, I mean.
Derek, Jeff here again.
Hello, Jeff.
Among the players that we've been honouring this weekend on our annual Dockers Day are the two wide players, Steve Brown and Dougie Alder. And one thing I remember about both of those two, which you can comment on for me, both of them were able to cross the ball at full speed. They didn't have to put that short stride in. which gives a defender a chance to get a block. They both crossed it when they were really at full speed. Is that how you recall them as well?
Welcome to the no backswing. I mean, there's backswing when you forget, but the technique of these people are just repetitious. It's like a great swimmer, same stroke all the time, and bam, the ball's gone. And I remember Stevie. The first time I spoke to him, I said, "Man, if you play like you dress, we're going to win some games." Because he was smooth as silk off the field and on the field. And Dougie Alder, I don't know how he didn't go to the top team in the country. When I say that Millwall were blessed with him staying there, that guy had the skill to be in the biggest team in the country, like Gordon Hill was when he went on. So that was Dougie. He's a powerful runner who can run all day. He's pretty good around my breakfast table, sneaking my bacon and eggs, though. It's just good.
The other player that we've honoured on the pitch has been Alan Dorney, who you mentioned earlier on, and often an unsung player, but he and Dennis were able to do some good marking jobs. Well, Alan marked, and Dennis tended to be a sweeper, didn't he, around Kitch? But what about Alan Dorney? What could you say about him? Because he'll have been at the game, and so will his son. What's your memories of Alan?
Alan Dorney was the most underrated player. Listen, I wouldn't want to play against him. You just didn't know if he's going to hit you or not. And his timing was perfect. It's just 1 inch short of actual perfection. He never went and dived in unless he had to. He had to get it done. And his skill, I'm thinking, when I'm on the field with him, I'm thinking, there's Billy Hughes, Sunderland. I'm going, you don't want to go near him. I'm talking to myself here, keep myself occupied. And his timing was so good. He just was the most underrated player that I've ever seen get, some really nice words said about him, because he was brilliant. I wouldn't want to play against him.
The other one we should mention from 71-2 is the goalkeeper, Brian King. Many people thought he was the best keeper in Division 2. I think a lot of people thought that. And what are your memories of him as a player?
He was a first-class comedian, I know that. So we got on well because we would cut up on everything that was happening just to kill the boredom sometimes. But I played cricket when I was young. I was heading into first division cricket in South Africa, but it wasn't professional. So I went to football. And I was first slip, that kind of thing. Kingy had the skill to see a ball 3 yards off the bat. And coming at 100 miles an hour, he's already doing his thing. That's very few players have that in goal. They don't go early. That's you don't ever you want to react. Anything else other than reaction causes you to go the wrong way too many times. So he had that. His reflexes and his feet were moving. Once he picked up the line of the ball, and of course with his stretch, he's going to get the majority of them, and he did. So yeah, he had a first slip mentality. If you don't get that ball, you're going to be knocked out. Your brains will be on the floor, and he had that kind of quickness. So quick. It doesn't look quick because he's taking these bigger steps. He's a tall fellow, but he was already on the move. See. And a striker, a real good striker, wouldn't hit any hard strikes at him because he's not going to win that too much. That's Kingy. Kingy's, I'd put him in the top 6 in the country, period. I know Millwall, Man U, Chelsea, he was just brilliant. And if you're in his way, good night. You're going to sleep well tonight. He takes you with it. That's the kind of goal he is. Brave, quick, and safe hands,
Derek, stand here again, mate. There were some other players who featured somewhat less than those already mentioned. Billy Neal, who's been a great servant to the club. Frank Saul. and aspiring local talent Dave Coxhill and Steve Brown. Can you tell us your memories of these teammates and also that man Jack Blackman?
Right, yeah. Stevie Brown and Coxey, they were good footballers. And, you know, in those days, one sub. Yeah. So you sometimes you're sitting a long time to come in. Instead of, you got 4 subs, 5 subs, whatever, there's going to be more changes. And they would have played a lot more had they gone to some other club. But the team we had was just ticking, if you know what I mean. It was ticking. Outside of the infamous offside deal, that team would have gone through because we were just playing excellent football, all the players on the field. And the 2 of those players fit in perfectly. When they got on the field, they did very well. So, you know, it's hard when you got one sub. What are you going to do? You know, get an injury or 2, whew. But you got to sit and sit and sit when you're in that position and you're not starting. But when they came on, they did well, very well actually. Yeah.
Jack Blackman, do you remember him, Derek?
One day, I think I was knackered, tired as anything, and I'm on the other side of the field. He's on his bench taking care of his foxes mince. And just, I could never get one off him, by the way, when I was injured and came back and had to sit on the bench. You know, I said, pass those foxes, Jack. And he would never give me one. I remember that, but he ran all the way over. He was a very nice fellow, by the way. I made him run all the way over. I was down holding my thigh and all of that stuff, and, you know, like they do today. And I'm going, and Jack gets, he says, where is it? Where's it? I said, where's my water? Don't you understand? I'm thirsty. And there's a half a dozen players hanging around there, opposition and our players, and we all started laughing. And I got up and sprinted off. Jack had to get off the field. Jack was a good guy. He took it really well. Yeah.
That's fantastic. There's a couple of others I want to touch on. I mean, I'll play this bit of music for you, and you might be able to sing along to it. The fans made that up especially for Doug, didn't they? They sung it and sung it and sung it. I mean, he was well loved, old Doug. But I suppose the last one out of the bunch is the genie, Eamonn Barclay, who also was the boot room lawyer. What do you remember about what Eamonn offered?
I thought Eamonn had ties with the Irish boys.
Yeah.
You know, my grandmother coming from Cork. So I knew all about the Irish. She straightened me out a few times. But I always thought he had ties. You know, he's the player that I never saw sprint. Now, that might have been his sprint, but I'm not sure about that either. And he's always playing, and I'm saying, how do you do this stuff? He said, yeah. What? I can go back and come back this way, and you still have only taken 3 steps. He said, that's genius, boy. It's genius. I'm going, okay. That was my last checking him out on that. Anyway, we roomed together. Nobody would put up with him, but I think the Irish genes in me, which I didn't know about too much in those days, you know, we got on well. But he was always in the right place, doing the right thing. But I never saw him sprint there.
No.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's just like...
I do. Yeah. I've seen it. Yeah.
Yes. And I said to him one day, we were down the coast somewhere, the infamous tennis match on the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I went, what's up with you? I said, you got some contacts there in Ireland? And he just looked at me and laughed. I went, oh, forget it.
Yeah.
But we got on well, so it was good.
What a character. Derek, thanks for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, as it was the last time, to have you on the show. But before you leave us, as is the tradition, please could you give us a prediction for Rotherham versus Millwall on Easter Monday?
I don't know what Rotherham's doing. It's hard picking up games from England.
They're on the bottom of the table at the moment.
Okay. What Millwall needs to do is play attacking football and get those points, because you're not going to get it defending. It's just not going to come. That's why they have a hard time. The games I've seen, they like to sit back and then come forward slowly. No. Make the boys run. Make the other team run and push the ball around quickly. Because while you're pushing the ball around having fun, they got a battle, and it's not comfortable work. No. Running without a ball, I mean. It's the hardest part of the game. So they've got to get points just to make sure.
So what would you predict then?
I'm going to give it a 1-0 Millwall. Don't see that enthusiasm to attack. I don't know what it's the best game in the world to go at people.
Yeah.
It just is.
We'll take the 1-0. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
We look forward to hearing from you again in the future, as there's so much more history to explore. In the meantime, all the best to you and Beverly.
Thank you.
Bye for now.
The stork always delivers, so don't forget.
Yeah. And the fannies like it. Yeah.
Cheerio, Derek. Thank you very much.
Bye, gentlemen.
Cheers, Derek.
Cheers, Derek.
Have a good one.
You take care.
Cheers,
Happy Easter.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyhow, we'll take a break there and hear about Fisher FC.
Hi, I'm Paul, a Millwall and Fisher FC supporter. There's always been strong links between our clubs, and as such, Fisher FC would like to remind Millwall season ticket holders and supporters club members that entry to watch Fisher is just £5 if you show your card at the gate.
I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Dave Hart, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. And Fisher face Holmesdale FC at St Paul's Sports Ground on Easter Monday at 3 p.m. So if you're not going up to watch the game in Rotherham, or you can't access watching it on the TV, just take your card along to get the discount and boost the crowd. Let's hear from Ellis Barr. Have you got many chocolate eggs as yet, Ellis? Keep us updated. Here is Ellis.
Hello, Ellis here, and I'm glad to be back talking about Millwall. I know many have watched my videos, so you will all know that I don't wear splints as much anymore. Thanks for your support along the way. It is now time to hear what all the Millwall teams are up to. Come on, Millwall!
Yeah, come on, Millwall. Thanks as always, Ellis, and as I said, happy Easter. Anyway, Millwall Pride were in action last weekend in the London Unity League. Once again, they faced top of the second division leaders, London Freedom, in a home fixture. Let's hear what manager Andy Dolan had to say on Maritime Radio.
It's Castles on Maritime Radio. So Millwall Pride, one of the two LGBTQ plus sides under the Millwall umbrella, faced the top of the London Unity League, second division London Freedom, at St Paul's Sports Ground in Rotherham at the weekend, having defeated Freedom in the quarter-finals of the league plate. Hopes were high for Millwall Pride. Eamonn caught up with manager Andy Dolan, who takes up the story.
We had a 2-2 draw, which a bit disappointing because we got 2 in the lead, but the team that we were playing were top of the league and undefeated all season. So silver lining, we've taken points off them. We're the only team that's took points off them this year, so that's a positive. You know, the trouble with these sort of teams when you're trying to make sure it's inclusive and everybody gets to play is that you can't always close out a result. So we made sure everybody got a lot of good game time and had a good day. But after at the pub, there was a lot of discussion and dissection of what we could have done differently. And, you know, everybody's Pep Guardiola at the pub, aren't they? But on the game day, they all also want to make sure that they get time on the pitch, so you can't please everyone. 2 goals, one from Alex, who scored a good few this season, edge of the area, he slotted it bottom corner, it was a great finish. And the second from John, the assistant manager, who absolutely rocketed it in. Brilliant goal, so well done to John. And to be fair to them, the goals they scored, one was a really good set-piece goal, great delivery, and the lad timed his run really well. And then the second one was a good goal in transition. I think 2 or 3 one-touches along the way, so we have to give that to them. Next game, a couple of weeks against Charlton. So we're competing for second place with Charlton now, so I'd like to give them a little tonking, put them in their place. That would be very nice. And next week, I'm looking forward to a weekend off. Happy Easter. I hope the bunny brings you lots of eggs, everybody.
Happy Easter, Andy Dolan. Thank you very much. Tough result, but Charlton addicts, do note the Millwall Pride of Lions are looking for points, and we look forward to Andy telling us that tale very soon. All your favourite music, everything local.
Yeah, we certainly do look forward to Andy telling us that tale in not too distant future. It'd be wonderful to get one over on the Charlton addicts. The other man that was in the frame to be on Maritime Radio was Jeff Burnige, following the Millwall Lionesses away game to Ebbsfleet United women on Sunday. Well, here's Jeff, and we can listen to what he had to say.
Down swinging on Maritime Radio. So Millwall Lionesses headed to Gravesend at the weekend to face Ebbsfleet United women. The Fleet had already defeated the Lionesses by 5-1 in early January in Rotherham. Jeff Burnige picks up the story for us.
Millwall Lionesses went down to a 3-0 defeat at Ebbsfleet United. Co-managers Alex Russell and Adam Rowland have become used to patching up a team beset with injuries, but on this occasion they were without all 3 centre-backs in Sophie Chapman, Poppy Payne and Jordan Butler. Additionally, Millie Connell, Liv McGregor and Ella Bailey were still not fit enough to return. The Lionesses went with midfielder Shay Bennett, 19, and debutant Billy Burgess, 16, at centre-backs, and Maisie Joyce started in midfield. In fact, it was Joyce who had a chance from a free kick, but it skimmed the bar, and they had other half chances in a promising first half. However, with the interval approaching, Amy Russ opened the scoring for the Fleet. Soon after the break, Maisie Garwood was sent off for a second yellow card, and then it was very hard for the tiring Lionesses. The back four had a 16-year-old, 2 17-year-olds and a 19-year-old in it, but they defended very well in the main. Goals from Logan O'Shea and Charlie Clifford completed the scoring. The Lionesses have no game on Easter Sunday, but then will face Enfield Town and Crawley, which should be capable of yielding points for the Lionesses.
Thanks, Jeff. The up-and-coming fixtures should lead to a promising end of season for the Lionesses, and we'll hear from Jeff after their Easter break. All your music right here is Maritime Radio. Traffic and travel on the way just before 9.
Well, Jeff, is there any more that you'd like to add about that game, or subtract from it? I don't know.
No, I think that report says what I wanted to say.
Now then, panel, we got 1 point on Friday. There are 21 points up for grabs in our 7 remaining games. Next up is Rotherham at the New York Stadium on Monday. They have lost at home to Wednesday, lost away to both Norwich and Coventry by 5 goals on each occasion, drew at home with the Terriers, and, well, lost away to Preston. They are bottom of the table, and we still need points to draw away from the relegation zone. How do we see this one going, and what score predictions would you make?
Rotherham, as you said, Eamon, they are bottom of the table. We've got to take control of the game early on and just keep control and keep tight at the back. And I'm going for a 2-0 Millwall win.
Well, let's be hopeful. Jeff?
Very hard one to predict. We aren't a high-scoring team, so I think any forecast would be for a relatively low-scoring game. I think it's going to be very low-scoring. I'd go with another 1-0. That's what Derek Smethurst forecast. I think that's a likely result, a 1-0 win at Rotherham.
Thanks, Jeff. Stan?
Although they've lost all them games, they've also lost to us and all, haven't they, before when we played them at home.
Well, they did, yeah.
Shortly after the start of the season. You know, if we're serious about staying up, and you must work on the assumption that we are, then I've seen nothing of Rotherham that gives me any reason to think that if we go in and we apply ourselves in the right way, then we should come away with 3 points. I mean, because to me, all right, Rotherham have got the home advantage, but it ain't done them that much good so far this season. And on paper, we should beat them. Now, as I say, it's not. I say that, but it's not a case of just saying, "Well, we'll beat them," and all we've got to do is turn up, because that's a disaster. But we've got the players there. We've got to have the application to go out and win the game.
With a bit of luck, my personal view would be that we have a 1-1 draw. But you didn't say what yours were, Stan.
Oh well, I would say 2-0 or 3-1.
Well, before we take a break, let's hear from the former Lion Phil Coleman with more tales from the boot room.
Hello everyone, Phil Coleman here again with some more stories of my time at the Den. This edition I'm going to talk about my first full-time coach at the Den, Oscar Arthey. I had the great Billy Neal from the age of 14 to 16, and many will have heard of him, plus the likes of Bob Pearson, Ted Buxton, but I guess many might not know the name Oscar Arthey. The club, and I have no idea to this day how they got Oscar into the club, was from Argentina. He played for top club Independiente out there, and here he was in 1977 at Millwall. I can safely say he was way ahead of anyone else in his coaching, and it was memorable. Oscar laid the foundations for a lot of careers, and definitely the start of us youngsters winning the FA Youth Cup 2 years later. Us older Blues team players, myself, Dave Memmott, Chris Dibble, Peter Glazier, Alan McKenna, Ian Gale, we had the privilege of Oscar, but it only lasted for one season. Great shame. The club had invested in youth team players, and they'd injected more funding. And they also had later on George Petchy, and in Jules they had a good manager with a proven track record of playing youngsters in the first team. There's about 5 or 6 stories about Oscar that really stand out in that year, and to be honest with you, some of them I thought I'd dreamt them, but I spoke to Chrissy Dibble and Ian Gale, and they both confirmed that some of the stuff that went on is actually true. Back in them days, we'd finish training at lunchtime and we'd go up to the players' lounge, and Lil would sort us out a bit of lunch, and it was a cup of tea and a cheese or a ham roll. You couldn't have both. But Oscar came in and he decided he wanted to grow us a bit quicker and replace that energy. So we used to trundle up in the old Dormobile to New Cross Gate, and he'd bring us back fish and chips 2 or 3 times a week. So we were chicken and chips, fish and chips, while the first team players were having a cup of tea and a cheese roll. One day, Oscar said to me, I think it was Ian Gale, come on, in the minibus, we're going to get some bits. So we drove down to the garage in New Cross, just down the road, just down Coldblow Lane. And he got about 15 car tyres, big Jaguar car tyres, old ones that had been dumped by the garage. And he took us over to the old dog track with them, and he laid them on their treads, stood them upright, and he placed a ball beside them all and said, go on in, start tackling them. Well, I was in my element, 15 car tyres, a ball next to each, and I'm smashing them with my right foot, smashing them with my left foot. He then laid them, we all had a go, and he then laid them down, so we were jumping and hopping in them, and then we started pulling them. So using car tyres for tackling, jumping, hopping, and power work. Never heard of it before. Now we've got lots of Fandango equipment. I can also remember one day everybody had to go over to the old Crystal Palace athletics track. The first team were lapping the track, 400 metres, 200 metres. We're indoors, and actually we met Big Daddy, the wrestler. He used to work out there. What a big size he was. But our sessions weren't about running. We had a tennis ball each, and we went in this undercover 5-a-side court, and we just spent 2 hours juggling tennis balls and volleys against the wall and half volleys against the wall and controlling it on our chest, and we just spent 2 hours juggling tennis balls. People like Dave Memmott, Kevin O'Callaghan and Chrissy Dibble and Gailey, these people were in their absolute element. In the meantime, I was running all over the place trying to get my tennis ball back. I can also remember Oscar. We used to train at Richards and Evans, and during the pre-season we'd go about half a mile, 3/4 of a mile through the woods to this pitch where the youth team used to train. Anyway, one day after training, Oscar started juggling a ball. Anyway, he started walking back, and it was right foot, left foot, and he walked all the way back half a mile right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. The ball never hit the floor. He walked across the training pitch, up the steps of the pavilion, walked into the pavilion, flicked it up, called it on the back of his neck and went, hey! Never seen anything like it before, just constant juggling the ball. It never touched the floor. Oscar used to punish us. Any time the manager had a problem with the boots or the kit or any of us were late, he'd have to punish us with a bit of running. Our running was up and down the halfway line terrace. He said this is a punishment, but it'll help improve your power, your speed and your jumping. Half a dozen each, hopped up, ran back, jumped up, and he knocked it on the head. But it set the tone for me because I did that at least once a week after that, and it certainly improved my sprinting and my jumping. A couple of the best stories, and these were the ones that I had to check out with Dibbsy and Gailey. Oscar wanted a portable wall for bending the ball round free kicks. So we got the ground staff at the old den to put a 4x4 base down, put a great big sheet of wood up, carve it into 4 heads. He took the casters off the wheelie bins so that it would go across, and he'd stick it on the pitch, and for 2 hours every single one of us except Peter Glazier would be bending the ball round this wall. I think some of the wood snapped off, but it proved its value because in the semi-final of the Southern Junior Floodlit Cup against Tottenham, Dibbsy puts it down 25 yards out, bends this free kick straight into the top corner, and we're into the final with the Southern Junior Floodlit. The problem was when the binmen arrived, they couldn't move the giant bins because those wheels were on our wall. We got into the final of the Southern Junior Floodlit, and the final was away at Ipswich on a Friday night. Anyway, we played the game. It went to extra time, and I think we got back to the den about 1 a.m. in the morning. But we had to play in the South East Counties League the very next morning, 11 o'clock kickoff at Langley Park to Gillingham. Well, none of us really had any energy. We'd had a long drive up to Ipswich. We'd gone to extra time and we'd driven back, had hardly any sleep. And here we were, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock kickoff at Langley Park to play Gillingham. At half time, we had 2 players sent off, Glenn Morris and Ian Gale. I'd scored an own goal and we were 5-0 down. So Oscar called us in and he said, second half, just play keep ball in your own half. Don't go in their half, keep possession for the whole of the half. Don't let them get it like we've done in training. Well, Gillingham kept their goalkeeper and their back 4 in their own half. So in effect, we had 9 versus 8, 7. And we did exactly as Oscar told us. We played keep ball. And I remember I was underneath the crossbar. The ball came to me. I played the ball to my goalkeeper, Peter Glazier, who was on the penalty spot. And I played a 1-2 with him on the penalty spot. And I passed it out again. Anyway, the second half was 0-0. So in effect, we lost 5-0. But the whole of the second half, Gillingham never touched the ball. And we just kept it for the whole game. The referee hated it, reported us to the league. And the league got in touch with the club, and Jules Petty wanted to rip us one, but Oscar walked in and said, "I'll take the blame for this. It was my instruction." So good old Oscar took the blame for us playing a keep ball that resulted in a 0-0. But what a great coach, great memories, and rest in peace, Oscar, but never forgotten.
Oscar RJ, an Argentinian coach at Millwall, Filoni was his end name, in the late 70s. Amazing stuff, Phil. We look forward to next week's instalment. Our second guest this evening hails from South London. He has followed the Lions man and boy. He said his South London upbringing prepared him for life. Today he lives on the English side of the Welsh borders, and getting to the den is less frequent than it was. Let's welcome Fred Walford to the show. Hello, Fred.
Hello, Eamonn, and thank you for the invitation.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Hello, buddy.
Hello, Fred. Jeff here.
Hello, Jeff.
So, Fred, before I hand you over to the panel, how did you come to follow the Lions?
Oh, blimey.
Was it an option? Or was it your destiny? And when did it all begin?
Right, okay. Well, it started in the very, very early 60s. My dad had no interest in football whatsoever. I was about 8 or 9 years old, and my granddads one was an Arsenal fan, the other one was a West Ham fan. My uncle was Spurs, and so were my cousins. So although I played a lot of football as a kiddie, I didn't have any allegiance to any particular professional football team. And then one day, on the way home from Saturday morning pictures, my little buddy said, do you want to come with me this afternoon? I'm going with me dad. I said, well, yeah, okay. Well, what's it like? He said, well, you get peanuts. He said, and they're shelled. I said, okay. I've never seen what a shelled peanut was. Anyway, off we go. We turn up at Millwall, and it was the third from last game of the season, 64, where we had the 0-0 draw against Coventry when we went down.
Right.
But when I walked into that stadium and the team came out, bloody hell, the roar. I mean, the absolute enthusiasm, the passion, all the way through that game. It was something that was just electrifying, and something that stuck with me. To this day. I mean, the thing is, as a Millwall supporter, once you get the injection, you get the addiction.
I think you're right there.
The only time I ever saw anything to compare with that was I had the pleasure of going to see Wales play the All Blacks at the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, and it was the only thing that ever rivaled it. But the Millwall, bloody hell, we are the business.
Hello, Fred. It's Dave here.
Hello, Dave.
It was Dockers Day on Good Friday, and the 1971-72 team was celebrated. Who sticks out in your mind from that team?
Oh, bloody hell. Brian King.
Yeah, good choice.
The reason for that is that Eamonn and I went to school together at a school called Kingsdale. But one of the things that was just brilliant for us is we had Laurie Leslie and Tommy Wilson takes the football. And I was always a goalkeeper. I remember I did a pretty good save in front of Laurie Leslie, and he patted me on the shoulder and said, "Well done, lad, great save." And I never let a goal in after that. And he gave me loads and loads of tips. And when I used to go and watch Brian King, I was always watching him to see whether he was closing the angle, whether he was taking it to his chest, whether he was looking big. All the stuff that Laurie Leslie had told me. So I was pretty focused on Brian King when I went to, watch us play.
Oh, yep.
Fred, it's Jeff Burnige here.
Hello, Jeff.
One of the players that is an occasional visitor to the Den even now is Brian King, and I agree with you. But someone can tell me, how many goals did we let in that season? It was an incredibly low number of goals we conceded. Around about 20 and 46 games? Incredible.
It was very low, wasn't it? I mean, the thing is, I was watching Brian. He was just so good at closing down every angle.
He was. And it was 17 goals, actually, Jeff.
Even less than I thought. But that's an amazing thing.
I mean, one thing I would say is that, I've had the pleasure and also the privilege of watching about 59 home games undefeated. I mean, in later life, when it went into business, I had to study data. And, I'd say that if those 59 games undefeated, it wasn't an accident. And I strongly believe that, our South London drive and determination fired up our players to deliver that.
Yeah.
Well, the goalkeeper for most of those games was the inimitable Alex Stepney.
I never forgave Alex Stepney for getting nutmegged on, I think it was against Plymouth Argyle.
Yeah.
But no, that wound me out. But yeah, no, you're right.
Well, what about today's team? Who would you say your favourite players are today?
Oh, wow. Tom Bradshaw puts in a shift. I mean, mind you, so does Saville. That's a hard one. To be fair, I'd say if I had to pick a star from today's team, it's Bomber.
Our manager. Oh, coach.
Yeah. I mean, that guy, he is so underrated. When you think about it, I think he still holds the record for a Division 1 side scoring the most goals against the Premier League side.
Yeah.
Is that right or not? Has he still got that?
I think he has.
And every time we have to go up against it and we have to play against, and punch above our weight, blimey, he really steps up to it.
Oh, Jeff will agree with you on that one, I tell you.
I will.
I'd have to say Bomber.
Fred, it's Stan here, mate. What is the most memorable Millwall game since you've? What is your most memorable Millwall game since you started supporting Millwall?
Blimey, there's a Woolworth accent.
It is a no.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say, Stan, is that once you get the Millwall injection, I mean, you follow on wherever you are. I mean, I've had the privilege of working all around the country. Couldn't always get back to watch us play live. So I've had to rely on lots of sources for getting information about games. I mean, Zach and what's his name, and TT on YouTube are superb in giving commentary. But if I had to pick one game that is really prevalent for me, it was when we beat Bradford at Wembley.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I remember that.
Oh, no, Stan, it was hilarious. I mean, if you can imagine, I mean, I live in a little Hereford town called Lampster. It's in the back end of Beyond. And I was looking for somewhere to be able to watch the game. I couldn't watch it at home. So I found a little pub close by to where we live where they were showing the game. And I went in, sat down with my pint, and there's about 10 people in the pub, and one bugger was going to try and turn it over. And I stood up and said, no, I want to watch this. Well, anyway, when Lee Gregory headed that ball over to Morrison, and he stuck it in the net, but this time I was about 4 points to the good, plus a glass of whiskey. And when it went in, I stood up, the bleeding table fell over. And I'm punching the air going, yes! And what was funny, also I suddenly realised when the adrenaline died down, I got 10 pairs of eyes staring at me. And one guy's going, oh, are you Millwall? I mean, I'm an old bloke, for Christ's sake. And I said, oh, yeah. And I picked the table up, and they was all buying me drinks.
You should have started that lark earlier. Cool.
If I had to pick a moment, I mean, that was magical. I was on my own, but I was still Millwall. That was lovely.
Well, lastly, before you can go, you must give us a prediction for Monday's match away to Rotherham, Fred.
Oh, blimey. I mean, the thing is, I mean, we always punch above our weight with the big teams, but the ones at the bottom, I mean, those are our banana skins, aren't they?
Can be.
Don't know. I mean, we're bombing there. I'm going to go 2-0.
Now, there's a few others that have done that. That's not a bad call. And let's hope that something like that is the case, because we do need the points to get away from the bottom end. Anyway, it's great to speak to you again, Fred. It's been a while.
And you, mate.
Thanks for coming on and sharing some great memories.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been great.
Yeah. Well, all the best to you and Isabel and the family. Bye for now. Take care, and we'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks, mate. Cheers. Cheers, Dan. Cheers, Dave. Cheers, Jeff.
We'll take a break there and hear how we can all support our Millwall Community Trust through sponsorship.
The Millwall Community Trust, something that I, Bethany Manctolo, admire for all that it does. The Trust was established in 1985, works to provide sporting, education, social and healthy lifestyle opportunities to the local community in Southwark, Lewisham, North Kent and the wider community. Its work is targeted at people of all ages, irrespective of race, gender or sexual orientation, and runs programmes aimed at tackling social exclusion, racism, knife crime, lack of employment opportunities for young people, mental health and disability issues. The Trust aims to be a progressive and campaigning charity that makes a difference to ordinary people's lives. Its work is undeniably essential to the local community. They have sponsorship opportunities to support this work. Email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. I'll say that again. That is email commercial@millwallcommunity.org.uk. Please help if you can.
I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and with me I have the No One Likes Us talking team of Dave Hart, Stan Godwin and Jeff Burnige. If you can donate, you will help our Millwall Community Trust to deliver all their programmes across all age groups to people within our community. Well, we're all looking forward to the next game, that one at Rotherham. But in the meantime, here are a few matters of interest for Millwall fans and those interested in football.
I went along last Saturday to the Millwall History and Heritage Tour. Now, some of you will be familiar with this. It's advertised and it's about doing the tour around the Isle of Dogs and learning all about what Millwall was about and going to the various sites. My experience was the tour, which was done by Rob and Michael, who lead the thing, done very well. I think the tour was very good. And they're planning to do another one again in September where Phil Coleman is going to be in attendance. And you will see it advertised in the normal way. And it's the tickets are £12. And I have to say that is, in my opinion, it was good value. And everybody on the tour, they all rated the tour. So I would recommend anyone, when this comes up, to put their name forward to go on the tour, because you'll enjoy it. You'll enjoy it. You've got a lot of walking to do, but it's very good. Very good.
I'm just going to add something to that. You can find further details and book by going to eventbrite.co.uk and search for Millwall History and Heritage. I'll say that again. You can find further details and book by going to eventbrite.co.uk and search for Millwall History and Heritage. Tickets are £12.
Next week, the show will be back on Friday with Eamonn again, if he can get over his cough. It'll be Dave again, Debbie and Steve, with a couple of guests as usual too. Additionally, Millwall Lionesses are without a game this weekend, but they are due to play on Sunday week against AFC Crawley. Listen out for further details on next week's show.
The 2024-25 season tickets are now on sale. Supporters can cement their place at the Den for the upcoming campaign with frozen Super Saver prices and exclusive benefits. The club is pleased to offer supporters the same Super Saver period prices as last year for the launch of the 24-25 season. The price freeze is valid until Wednesday the 3rd of April, after which the prices will increase. So be quick and get them bought, just as Miles did this week.
Good for Miles. Don't forget you'll be able to listen to the No One Likes Us talking team, bring reports from our games, both home and away, for both the Lions, Lionesses, Romans and Pride. And also updates on Mill Community Matters too, on Maritime Radio, broadcasting on 96.5 FM. Additionally, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly Twitter, Tumblr, social media sites and all popular podcast sites. That's it for me. Thanks, Dave.
And good night from me.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Thanks for listening, and goodbye from me.
And thanks, Stan.
Yeah, and thank you all for listening, and I hope you and your families have a great Easter.
And that's wonderful that you said that. So do I. Finally, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Good night. Our Millwall Fan Show is sponsored by G&M Motors of Gravesend, Honda dealers and much more. Thank you.